Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, my name is Layla, and for today's video I'm going to share with you how I spend my monthly income. This is the fourth year in a row of me filming this video, and I always tend to film it around this time. It's actually like July, August, so a little bit late this year, but the reason I did that was because a lot of things changed for me this year, specifically after May, or it started in May, which is when I moved. And previously I was living on my own in an apartment closer to the city. And now I live in a house with my boyfriend and we are like further out in the suburbs. And obviously because of that, my housing expenses have decreased pretty significantly and other things have increased significantly. And then the other major change is my income. I am grateful to say that for 2023, I have seen a significant jump in my income, and that's primarily because of my side hustles. For some reason, whenever I make these videos and prep for these videos, making the monthly breakdown is quite challenging. And I think it's because I have like a number of sinking funds, which are technically those go into categories. It's not like savings. But then there's just a lot of differences from month to month. So for me trying to take the average of something, it just doesn't always work out because, I have to also try and incorporate the annual expenses that technically would count as like a monthly expense, So if I'm paying for my phone plan for the full year, then I am only paying that in 1 month and you're not going to see that here. But I tried to like keep track of everything and incorporate it into here. And for this year's video, because I moved in May, I decided it would be best to come up with these numbers by taking an average of the last 3 months, so June, July, and August, because that is, that's the time frame where I've been living in this house. And I would say is more of an accurate representation of how I spend my money now. So this doesn't really reflect the whole year because I had my apartment before and that was much more expensive. But I would say that this is pretty standard for now. And I will say that these numbers are definitely not 100% accurate just because it's averages, it's rough averages. Also, my budget changes every single month. There were some things that I spent so much money on in July, but I didn't spend anything in June or August, or like in August I spent much more in one category but barely anything the previous 2 months. So data is definitely skewed, but that's kind of the point of averages. But anyways, let's get into it. I am going to go through these categories from highest spend to lowest spend per month, and this is fairly accurate, I would say. I'm first going to start by sharing my gross income for the last 3 months. This is an average of my gross income. And this is crazy because if you look back at the last 3 years of me filming this, first of all, I was doing take-home pay in my previous videos, but I wanted to include taxes and investing in this like more accurately. But if you look at the last few years, I've been nowhere near this number. So average gross income, $11,781. This year I have seen a much higher jump in my side hustle income and even my extra income, so that's really where this is coming from. I did get a 12% pay increase at my full-time job, but it sounds significant, but based off of what I was being paid, like I just am not paid that much, in my opinion. It was not that big of an increase, not compared to my side hustles. So all of these categories, the percentages are based off of that gross income. The first category, the highest spend category, is actually my savings. And for the last 3 months or so, that's been about $3,821. Now, this sounds really, really high, but like if we look at, let's see, in June, I put over $4,800 to my emergency fund. So this isn't counting my sinking funds, like my car maintenance sinking fund, car insurance sinking fund. It's not counting those because those go to like car spending. This is strictly like emergency fund and furniture fund. I know furniture fund is going to be used for furniture stuff, but that's like months down the road. So yeah, I'm just counting it here. Okay, so yeah, it's in June, over $4,800 to my emergency fund. $867 to my emergency fund in July, and then over $4,300 to my furniture fund in July. In August, it was much lower, but that's where it's not a perfect average, I will say that. But that's where that high number comes in, over $3,800 to savings per month, I would say is pretty accurate, just depending on how much extra income I have left over. Y'all know that my main focus has been saving, like once I finished saving for my debt, and now they're completely gone. It's so interesting because I watched my 2022 video of this exact type of video, and I was saying how I just was so ready to be done with my debt and saving for it and paying it off, and it's actually happened now, so that's exciting. But anyways, that is 32.43% of my gross income, which I would say is pretty good. Now, I would prefer to be investing more, to be honest. Now, I do expect to invest much more per month starting in 2024. But right now, I just have so many savings goals that I am working toward that is my top priority. And that's just personal preference, what I feel comfortable with doing, because I just have a number of things that I want to save for. The other good thing is that my high yield savings account is at such a great rate that I'm getting a decent amount of just passive income there. So that's good as well. And yeah, I'm happy that the highest spend category, first of all, being a third of my gross income is savings. Like that's promising. Second category would be taxes. So this is taxes on my W-2, and then also the money that I set aside to pay quarterly estimated payments. That's about $1,742 per month, or 14.8%. This may seem a little bit low, and it potentially is. I mean, the W-2 stuff should be taking out fine. I usually don't put an excessive amount of taxes for my side hustles, my online income, because I am investing so much into my business, and that's actually the next category. So any business expenses I do get to write off, and that lowers my tax burden, of course. So business is actually the third highest spend category at $1,735 per month. That's definitely not something I'm spending every single month, but definitely over the last 3 months, it's been much higher, which is how I got that average. And that is 14.7% as well, a little bit lower, but 14.7% of my gross pay. Next is housing/utilities. And this is very exciting. It's a total of about $1,194, or about 10.1% of my gross income, which is a significant drop compared to living at my apartment and compared to just having like the income I had before, relative to what I was paying for rent and stuff. It's pretty significant. So I think in 2022, this percentage was like 27%. So housing and utilities was 27. And now for it to be almost 20% lower than that is amazing. This has allowed me, just increasing the gap between the both of those, like lowering my expenses, increasing my income. I've really widened that gap over the last year, and obviously more so over the last few months since moving in. And that has helped tremendously. Like, this is why I've been able to save for my emergency fund and finish it within a couple of months, and then finish my next goal, finish the next goal. You know, it really helps to widen that gap. And I think moving has been one of the largest factors of that, just because typically my rent alone was like $1,600, you know, like rent and pest and trash, all the stuff I had to pay for, it was like $1,600. So right away, like, that's just taking away several hundred that I don't have to pay for anymore. Next is investing, and that is about $841 per month if I include my 401k. That does not count the match from my employer. This is just what I put in, as well as money that I put to my brokerage. I think in July I put a lot more to my brokerage account, so this kind of skewed it a little bit. I would say this is honestly going to be a little bit lower for 2023, but in 2024 it's going to be higher. And of course I'll make another video in 2024 just like this, and we'll have to see what things look like then. But this is about 7.1% of my gross pay, which is kind of low. I am doing 10% to my 401k with my company, and then they match 6%. And then as of right now, just doing like 100 or so to my brokerage, or any support that I get goes to my brokerage account. I did already max out my Roth IRA, this year, and I had finished that before June, or like by June I had finished that, so really none of it is counted here. And that's also kind of throwing things off. Like technically I could count that here because that's like a whole $6,500. But yeah, I don't know, it's just hard to come up with these numbers entirely, but I would say for 2023 this is a little bit higher, but right now it's lower, if that makes sense. Next is health/beauty, and this comes to about $622 per month, or 5.3%. I would say this is fairly accurate, but the main thing that is making this jump for the last 3 months is getting my Dry treatment, which was $950 itself. That was the second treatment, so the first treatment was double that, but that was several months ago. Otherwise, I'm spending money on like vitamins, supplements, doctor visits, my medication. I did not get any like massages in the last 3 months, or like those IV treatments. I haven't spent too much on health and beauty aside from that. But so yes, this is like an average from the last 3 months, but I would say a more accurate average is like less than $300. But yeah, we'll leave it at $622. Food, this includes groceries and food out. That is at $577, or 4.9%. The percentage isn't bad, you know, like 5% of my pay. I think that's really reasonable. But when I see $577 per month, that seems high, because that's just basic. Well, I purchase sometimes for my boyfriend. Like sometimes this includes me paying for us to go out to eat or something. But the bulk of this is groceries. I know that something that's skewing this is going on vacation in August, and that bumped up like the food out. I think I spent more on food out in July as well. Typically I'm not spending much on food out, but the last couple of months I did, so definitely skewed there. I think this is a pretty accurate representation though, just because I spend quite a bit on groceries. Next would be dogs, and this came to $532, or 4.5%. On a monthly basis, it's usually like $170, but I know that this is thrown off for this average that I was taking because both of our dogs got cleanings, dental cleanings and dental extractions a few months ago, and that's included here. Am I spending $500 per month on the dogs? No, it's usually less than $200, but that's kind of what things are looking like. Car, gas, and car insurance, I calculated is about $260. Now what I did here is just added up my car maintenance sinking fund and then car insurance sinking fund, which are both at $100, so $200. And then on average, I've spent $60 on gas over the last 3 months, so $260, or 2.2% of my gross pay. I don't have a car payment. My car is completely paid off, which I'm very grateful for. I typically am only getting car maintenance like once a year. Yeah, just like once a year. And I am saving for that. So anytime I spend money on my car, I pull from my sinking fund. So that's why I'm just counting the $100. And then same with car insurance. It's whatever I put into my sinking fund is what I use to pay for the car insurance. Next is personal/miscellaneous, and that one is at $224, or 1.9%. And basically what's included here is personal spending, which is actually like nothing. I spent so far this whole year on personal spending, it's been like $80. So I barely counted anything there. This includes like Netflix, parking, I think some like fun/entertainment stuff. I included the gym here, and that should really be it. My phone, I put my phone into here even though I pay that like in December. Yeah, so that's just like a mix of quite a few things, and it's barely anything, like barely, you know, $224 per month, less than 2% still. I think that's fairly accurate as a whole, you know, like I'm not spending $224 on miscellaneous every month, but like Netflix is always included there and stuff like that. Next is travel, which I put at $130 per month, or 1.1%. And the reason this is so low, even though I feel like I spend quite a bit on travel, is because this is all that I've spent this year. Like I paid for the Airbnb. My boyfriend pays for, like usually we split things. Like he paid for our flights to go to Costa Rica. I didn't pay for that, but I paid for the Airbnb. And then my credit card completely paid for that, you know, so I had the points. I could have used that for cash back, but I used it for travel. So that was $1,100 just for the Airbnb. I think I bumped it up a little because I did end up paying for half of like our car rental, and that has been it for this year. Like I did travel to Colombia, but I didn't count that here. That all I paid for was like my flight, and that was a few hundred. Obviously each month I'm not putting money to travel. Like I don't have a sinking fund for travel right now, or I'm not contributing to it. And then I'm also not like booking travel or spending money on travel every single month. But if you like break it down, I would say 130 is pretty accurate for the whole year. No major upcoming travel plans, so I don't think I'll be booking anything. I may later this year, but it's not going to be anything crazy. It's just like this plan I have. Like I want to work remote from somewhere else, but I'm not sure if I'll do that yet. We'll see. That's going to be next year, but I may have to pay for it this year. Okay, anyways. Final category would be donate, and that came to about $103 per month, or 0.9% of my gross pay. $103 out of almost $12,000 is very, very tiny, and each time, like I really want to raise this at some point. It just feels difficult for some reason, and usually when I'm donating, it's to an animal rescue, Barkville Animal Rescue typically, or Barkville Dog Rescue. But I will raise this at one point. And the other thing is right now, which it's not counted here, is I am working on my scholarship for Debt Over It. And so that technically is a donation. Another thing I didn't count here, it was more for a business expense, as I sponsored 5K, which went as a donation to them, but that was like a donation through my business. That was $750 all at once, so of course it would be a little bit higher, but that's part of my business expenses. But yeah, that is everything broken down into just a few categories. Honestly, I feel like that really does cover everything, because if it's not like a main category, then it falls under miscellaneous, and I feel like I got that. This is probably the best things have looked ever, of all 4 years that I've filmed this. This is the best that it's looked, just because my income is so much higher, and then finally done with the debt, the savings, the investing, all of that is increased. There's nothing on here that I'm really like, oh, I need to cut back on that, because yeah, I just feel like I have a pretty good understanding of where I spend my money, and I feel like I spend my money intentionally for the most part. I'm also doing my low spend year for this year, of course, and the personal spending is much lower than what you would have seen for 2021 and 2022, so that's good. I know that in 2024 it's going to increase again, but at this point in my financial journey, I have a strong grasp of like my goals and what I want out of my finances and stuff. So yeah, but that is how I spend my monthly income. I know it sounds crazy that my gross income is like 12K, but it's not what I'm working with every month. Keep in mind, this is from a small set of data to just 3 months. So it's not a perfect representation, but something a little bit more accurate for what I'll be seeing, at least for the rest of 2023. I think it's really cool to see a breakdown of where your money is going. So if this is something you haven't done, definitely try it for yourself, because you may be like, oh, I need to slow down there, or oh, I have some room to spend here, or like I'm okay with spending that. And it actually can be quite helpful when it comes to your monthly budgeting. But if you have any questions, please feel free to comment those down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one.